everyone, welcome back to Member Math. Today we're breaking down some basic geometry skills in a way that actually makes sense. Please like and subscribe and let's get into it. Perimeter is the distance all the way around a shape. A good example is walking on the outside of a room. In perimeter, the formula is to add up all sides. There is no general formula in perimeter, unless all the sides are the same length. In a square, the formula is perimeter equals 4s. S equals sides. So, if a side is 6 centimeters, then you would multiply 4 times 6, because there is 4 sides and the length is 6. And so that means that our square is 24 centimeters in perimeter. Let's look at it in a drawing. 6 centimeters, 6 centimeters, 6 centimeters, 6 centimeters by 4 sides. If we add those up, 6 plus 6 equals 12, plus 6 equals 18, plus 6 equals 24. In a rectangle, the formula for perimeter is 2 times length and 2 times width, also written as 2L plus 2W. If the length is 8 and the width is 3, then you can times 2 times 8 and 2 times 3 and add them together to get 16 plus 6 in the perimeter as 22. Let's look at it as an image. 8 plus 8 equals 16, 3 plus 3 equals 6, and that is 22. Let's take a look at a different type of perimeter. A different type of perimeter is known as circumference. Circumference is a type of perimeter only used on circles. The formula for circumference is C equals 2 times pi times r. R stands for radius. You use this formula when only given the radius in your equation. Or C equals pi times d. D stands for diameter. You'll only use this formula when given the diameter in your equation. We'll be using pi as 3.14. A radius is when you're halfway across the circle. A diameter is when you're fully across the circle. If your radius was 4, you'd plug that into the formula as C equals 2 times pi times 4. That'd approximately be 25.12. And if your diameter was 6, you'd plug that into your formula for diameter and you'd get C, or circumference, equals pi times 6, which is approximately equal to 18.84. Here's a quick tip. When a question asks you to give the circumference of a semicircle, you'd still do the same formula. For example, if you had the diameter of 6 inches, which is the full line across, then you do the formula C, or circumference, equals pi times 6, and you get 18.84. Since it's a semicircle, you divide that in half because that's half of a circle. So divide by 2 and you get your answer, which in this case is 9.42. Area tells us how much flat space is inside a shape, like how much carpet is needed to fill a room. For a square, the formula is s squared, which is s times 2. So, if a side is 5 meters, you would times 5 times 5 to get 25. Let's try it out on a shape. Here, we have 5 units going on one side and 5 units on another side. Let's try and fill in the units to see if we get 25. Take these lines all the way down and these lines all the way to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. For a rectangle, our formula is area equals length times width. If our length is 6 and width is 2, we times 6 times 2 to get 12. Let's try it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's try it out with a few different shapes. A triangle's formula for area is 1/2 times base times height. The base in a triangle is at the bottom and the height is from the bottom to the point. If the base was 10 and the height was 4, we can plug it into the formula to get 1/2 times 10 times 4, and that equals 20. In the parallelogram, the formula is area equals base times height. If the base equals 6 and the height equals 5, then we can get 6 times 5, which equals 30. The base is also at the bottom in a parallelogram, and the height is from the bottom to the top. The area is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height. Base 2 is the top line of the trapezoid, and base 1 is at the bottom, and the height is from the bottom to the top. So if we plug the top base being 4 and the bottom being 6 and the height being 3, we can add 1/2 4 plus 6 times 3 to get 15. In a circle, there's no different things for area, just perimeter. So for area, the formula is pi times radius squared. If the question doesn't give you radius, you can always divide the diameter in half, because the diameter is full and the radius is just half of that. So if the diameter was 6, you can divide that in half to get 3. So if the radius was 3, we can plug that into our formula. Pi equals 3 squared, which would be pi times 9, which is approximately 28.26. Volume is how much space is inside a 3D object, like how much water a container can hold. Let's try volume on a few 3D figures. The formula on a rectangular prism is volume equals L times W times height, or length times width times height. If the length was 4, the width was 3, and the height was 2, then we multiply all those numbers together to get a volume of 24. On a rectangular prism, the height is shown in the figure like this, width this, and length like this. On a pyramid, the formula for volume is 1/3 times B times H. If the base was 9 and the height was 6, you times 1/3 times 9 times 6 to get 18. On a pyramid, the height is shown like this, and the base the bottom of the pyramid. On a cylinder, the formula is pi times r squared times height. The radius is half the circle at the top or bottom, and the height is shown like this. If the radius was 2 and the height was 5, then you could plug it into the formula to get pi times 4 times 5 to get 20 times pi, and get approximately 62.8 as our volume. For a triangular prism, the formula is volume equals 1/2 times base times height times length. If the base equals 6 and the height equals 4 and the length equals 10, then first we're going to multiply the base times height times 1/2 to get 12 times the length, which is 10, to get 120 as our volume. The length is shown like this on a triangular prism, the height like this, and the base at the bottom. Surface area is the area of all the faces or outside parts of a 3D object, like how much wrapping paper you need. Now let's calculate surface area with some of the 3D figures we know. Let's start with rectangular prism. The formula for a rectangular prism surface area is 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. If the length is 5, the width is 3, and the height equals 2, then we can plug it into the formula, and 2 times 5 times 3 plus 2 times 5 times 2 plus 2 times 3 times 2 will get you to 30 plus 20 plus 12, which gets you to 62 as your surface area. For a cone, the surface area formula is pi times r squared plus pi times r, or radius, times length. If the radius is 3 and the length is 5, they can plug it into the formula to get pi times r squared plus pi times r times 5 to get 9 times pi plus 15 times 5, which gets you to 24 times pi, which is approximately 75.4. For a cylinder, the surface area formula is 2 times pi times r squared plus 2 times pi times radius times h. If the radius is 2 and the height is 7, they can plug it in to get the surface area of 113.1 approximately. For a pyramid, the surface area formula is 1/2 times length times perimeter plus base. To get the perimeter, you have to look at the side length. For this question, the side length is 8, so for perimeter, we times the side length times 4. 8 times 4 is 32. For the base, we times the side length by itself. So 8 times 8 gets you to 64. Now we can plug it in to the formula. 1/2 times 5 times 32 plus 4 gets you to 2.5 times 32 plus 4. Then you get to 80 plus 4. And that gets you to 84 as your surface area. Composite figures. Shapes made by combining 2 or more simple shapes. Here's a good strategy when finding volume or area of composite figures. Break down the shape into smaller pieces. Use the right formula for each, and don't forget to add all their areas together at the end. Tips for finding area of shaded regions. A part in a shape that's filled in. Number 1, find the big shapes area. Number 2, find the small shapes area. Number 3, subtract the small shapes area inside. Nets of shapes. A net is a 2D flat layout of a 3D shape. If you were to cut and unfold a solid shape, the net shows all of its faces laid out. Here's an example of a net shape. Here's a 3D cube with 6 faces. One at the bottom, top, left, right, forward, and back. And here we have it laid out with all the numbers corresponding to the 3D cube. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Please tune in next time, like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe and tune in next time on Member Math. Bye!